At 10, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
And we begin at 10 with a weather watch alert. We are expecting a wintry mix later this week. Good evening, I'm Jen Bernstein.
And I'm Ben Goldman. Thanks for joining us here at 10. It's felt a lot like spring across Connecticut recently, but we're about to get a big reminder that it's still really February. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank for a first check of the forecast. Hi, Rach.
Yeah, we are talking about a big old messy storm for later this week, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, with snow, sleet, freezing rain, and eventually rain. That could cause a big mess on the roads for Thursday morning. But before we get to that, we do have some weather on the way for tonight as well. Right now, there might be a light sprinkle or shower across the state. I think the radar is a little bit overdone, but we're seeing a growing area of showers off to the west of us. And as that fills in and blossoms out here after about midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, we will see temperatures drop, and those rain showers could transition over to a bit of snow as we're heading towards the morning commute. Right now, though, it is still very warm. Temperatures are in the mid 40s to right around 50 degrees. We hit a high of around 60 degrees today. So if you're wondering, are we going to get snow to be able to stick? It's definitely going to be a challenge, at least initially, but as temperatures drop, we might be able to in some communities. So there are some showers overnight, and then as we head towards daybreak, this is about 5:30 in the morning, noticing we're starting to see that transition from rain over to snow. There could be a coating to an inch or so in spots, so I think road conditions will be highly variable. Some roads, and probably, honestly, most of the roads in the state will be fine, just a little bit damp on your way out the door. In some of those few locations that are able to get up around an inch or so, there might be some slippery road conditions. So check in with the Fox 61 morning show crew. After we head past 9 a.m. or so, we're dry for most of the day, and then there'll be another chance for showers as we head towards the late afternoon and early evening. We'll talk about the second round that is on the way heading into Wednesday night and Thursday morning. Your full forecast will look at both of these systems in depth coming up.
All right, Rachel, thank you. Well, President Joe Biden making a surprise visit to Ukraine nearly 1 year since the Russian invasion began.
The president is in neighboring Poland tonight to show his support for our NATO allies in Eastern Europe. During his visit, President Biden met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and declared the capital of Kyiv still stands 1 year later. He spent more than 5 hours in Kyiv consulting with Zelensky on the next steps in the war and honoring the soldiers killed in the war. Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy says President Biden's visit to Ukraine shows that Russia's army is not as strong as people thought.
Nobody would have thought that President Biden would have been able to go back to Kyiv in 2023 after the invasion began. Nobody thought that Kyiv would still be standing. And President Biden being there is this important symbolic reminder of the power of resistance.
And new at 10 tonight, we're hearing from Ukrainians and people from Connecticut in Ukraine right now.
Yeah, Fox 61's DeAndrea Turner joins us now with what they had to say. DeAndrea.
Well, it was a very sombering but a celebratory moment for them today. They tell me that it was just a celebration, even though they're still in war. Now, I spoke with a woman who's from Western Ukraine. She has a 17-year-old son and a 1-year-old son. She now lives here in Berlin. Now, I also spoke with a University of New Haven professor who is in Ukraine right now about this. Like I said, they both said this was a moment of pride and joy in the midst of this war.
Life is but a dream. It's fleeting, uncertain, but one may say it's what we make it. As Alina Belinsko teaches her son the basis of this song, she too knows what that means, as their family fled from Western Ukraine in June of last year. Today, they are making a tidy apartment in Berlin their home, as the Russian war in Ukraine rages on almost 1 year later. Of course I miss my house, my relatives who stayed there because they have parents who stayed home. I have a sister with her children who could not come because they also had reasons, because they have responsibilities to their older parents. And here we are in peace. We ask and we pray to God that the war will end soon and we will be able to see each other as we once did, to sit down at the table for dinner and laugh together, because it has not happened for a long time. With the war persisting, President Biden made a surprise trip to Lviv on Monday, where he met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. I'm impressed by today's visit. It was unexpectedly pleasant, and it is a tangible, great support of America, in particular the president. He was not afraid to cross the border of Ukraine where military operations are taking place, and this is very brave on his part and great support for Ukraine. University of New Haven professor Dr. Matthew Schmidt, who's currently in Kyiv, echoes this.
Their spirits were buoyed. They know that a tough fight is coming in a few days, in a few weeks. And to have the President of the United States show up in the middle of the war, right, in the middle of their capital, was just extraordinary for them.
Now, I also asked Olena when the war is over and she gets to see her family again, what does she want their first dinner together to be like? She told me that she just wants to sit at the table with her family again, even if it's just in silence. In the studio, DeAndrea Turner, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
We hope for that for them too as well. DeAndrea, thank you very much. All right, tonight, a Stonington police officer is in the hospital tonight after he was hit by his own cruiser when it was hit by a car. This happened on Route 184 this afternoon near the North Stonington town line. Sergeant Mario Ritaco was flown to Rhode Island Hospital in Providence, and his condition is unknown tonight. Ritaco is a 21-year veteran and was off duty working for a line crew that was placing new cables on poles.
We're very concerned about our sergeant. We want to make sure that he's getting the best treatment and making sure that all the other officers as well are being taken care of. It's a concerning thing throughout the entire department.
The road has since reopened. There's no word tonight on the condition of the driver that crashed into the parked cruiser.
Well, new at 10 tonight, a Seymour man is arrested after police say he fired shots at a bar in Shelton. Officers arrested 32-year-old Rivero Calles on Saturday. He's accused of a fight at Central Street Social back on February 11th. Investigators say when the bar was closing, a fight broke out between several men and 4 gunshots were fired. No one was injured. Calles is now facing 3 charges, including criminal possession of a firearm by a felon. He's free on $200,000 bond, and he'll be in court tomorrow. New at 10 tonight, a package store in Old Saybrook is looking for a woman who they say stole more than $1,200 in merchandise. Seaside Wine and Spirits posted these photos on Facebook. The business says that they caught her stealing on camera. The post also says that she was reported to police. Seaside is asking anyone with information about her to give them a call.
Well, new at 10 in Money Matters, advocates are calling for Connecticut to put a cap on yearly rent increases. There's a bill in the legislature right now that would stabilize rent, and tomorrow a public hearing will be held on the issue. Fox 61's Gabby Molina live in Hartford at the Legislative Office building where that hearing is going to be held. Gabby.
Jen, that bill would cap annual rent increases at 4%. And advocates say that that would provide families and individuals here in Connecticut with some much needed stability as rent prices continue to go up.
And if the rent keep going the way it's going, I wouldn't be able to afford anywhere in the next 3 years.
Dave Richardson rents in Hartford. Living on a fixed income, one of his biggest fears is his rent increasing significantly, like he's seen happen to others around him.
You can't even go buy clothes. Groceries and all that. It would affect your life significantly. It would make it virtually impossible for me to live.
And advocates say he's not alone. According to Cap the Rent CT, a coalition of organizations fighting for rent stability, on average, renters in Connecticut have seen double-digit rent increases in the last 2 years.
For some tenants, especially folks here in Hartford, they've seen rent increases of 30%. 40%, and no one's wages have gone up by that much.
In the Hartford area, the fair market rent for a 1-bedroom in 2019 was $960. In 2023, it's $1,207.
For every $100 kind of like amount that rent goes up, there's a 9% increase in homelessness.
That's why the coalition is backing a bill that would cap annual rent increases at 4% plus inflation, though they would like to see it capped at even less than that.
We are trying to give them a little peace, right? Like they need that kind of peace to survive in this country. And it's hard for them because they start thinking, where do I have to live now? Because I don't find anything that it is affordable for my family.
On the other side, landlords argue they're also impacted by rising costs. Higher taxes, electricity rates, insurance rates, and more make it difficult to keep rent low.
This inflation is horrible. I mean, it makes us all enemies. You know, we're all being eaten by the same monster slowly. What happens is at some point, and if the rents can't keep up with the expenses, something has to give.
John Souza, president of the Connecticut Coalition of Property Owners, will be testifying against the bill, saying there are other solutions to the problem.
We have to encourage more housing of all types. That's really the only way to solve the problem for everybody. It really is.
Cap the Rent CT will be having a news conference here at the Legislative Office building tomorrow morning before that hearing gets started. Live in Hartford, Gabby Molina, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.